Okay, we are live. We are live with another LinkedIn teardown.
Tear it
With
down, baby.
this is what we're here to do, and I'm excited because arguably we've got one of the most exciting LinkedIn creators, entrepreneurs that has come out of nowhere in the last 24 months. Now that might be unfair because he is a successful entrepreneur with a track record, but I would argue that what he's achieved in LinkedIn has only been seen a few times. And I can speak from experience, having worked at LinkedIn for 4 years back in the late 2010s or whatever it was. And I've been a LinkedIn user very early on, and I've only seen this a few times. So, Adam Robinson, it's great to have you on today. How are you feeling?
Great, James. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, every overnight success is 10 years in the making.
Well,
I started my entrepreneurial career 10 years before 2 years ago when everyone started hearing about me.
and that's a good reminder, isn't it? Because
It was a great reminder. That's why I said it. I was a schmuck for 10 years.
because Instagram and even LinkedIn now makes you feel as a young entrepreneur or any person starting a new business that you should already be achieving and hitting massive milestones overnight, but that's not always the case.
Hey man, I hear you. Yeah, let's
All
get
right,
into it. Start roasting.
So listen, the way the teardown works is we will basically bring up the profile of our guest, which today is Adam Robinson, and we will walk through and learn about his career, his experience, as well as understand how he's approached his LinkedIn strategy. Now, what I love about this moment when we get straight into it is how much thought or not has been put into a profile. Now, first of all, I can see some immediate wins here. One, you actually look like your photo. So this feels recent.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. By the way, that's the best headshot I have ever taken in my life. The other headshots I've had professional photographers, they just look terrible. That one came back. I was like, holy cow, that actually looks like me, but it just looks amazing. It's like the best version of me that's ever been shot, you know?
And it's not AI enhanced?
No, just a girl, she we had this all team offsite and we brought a girl there to do these headshots. Her name was Fresh.
Okay, very strong. Then you've got the banner here. Identify your anonymous website visitors, push their LinkedIn profiles into Slack. It's 100% free. Go to your website. Now, this smacks value. This smacks offer. This smacks Alex Hormozy, in my opinion. Like, how can you get away with offering something so valuable for free? Is it snake oil, Adam?
So I think you're that banner. I was proud of that. I actually designed it in Snagit, which is like Photoshop for dummies. I just think it's ultra hard hitting. You know what I mean? And like, I think that had I not built a bunch of trust through my content over the course of however many years, what was it? Like at this point, when I put that banner up, it was 18 months, but it was like really working and a lot of people were seeing it. And people didn't already know that I had another company that I'd bootstrapped to above 20 million ARR. They might be like, that's snake oil. I don't care. But like, I was literally telling the story of what I plan to do. I'm like, I'm going to just give this away for free to everybody. And like, I'm going to try to get a bunch of users and get feedback and then figure it out from there. Right. So it's not 100% free for everybody, but like to try it, there is a 100% free plan that applies to, by numbers, 90% of our signups, right? So like our top 10% pay the bills. Everybody else gets it for free. So that's the story there. It's incredibly intentional. I would recommend having a call to action in your banner because everybody sees it, right? Like the harder your banner can hit, the more people are going to click through your website.
Yeah, legit. And I can see it's working for you. How, I'm going to come back to the tagline, but how, when did you hit 100,000 plus followers? Did you believe it was possible? Where were you 2 years ago? You know, that in my eyes is like 1 million followers on Instagram. I think it's huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And by the way, I don't do it
No.
I don't use engagement pods. I'm not posting about, you know, there's LinkedIn subjects, right? Like work-life balance, or like there's very untargeted things that can grow a follower count high that I do not do. I write incredibly specific content to 3 different ICPs. One's founders, one's salespeople, and one's like growth stage marketers. I know when I write a post, who is going to engage with it. I know, for instance, if I talk about going 0 to 1 bootstrapped, it's only going to be early stage founders. I know if I talk about how BDR is, you know, there is toast and it's predictable revenue's dead, it's going to be salespeople. I know if I talk about account-based marketing and how 6 Sense and demand-based suck, it's going to be these marketers who do ABM. So I only write to very specific ICPs, and I do nothing to accelerate the follower count, which is, I think, what LinkedIn is magical for. Because when you do that, then you open up the possibility to going viral inside of that very targeted universe. By the way, I have a teleprompter here, and I'm looking here because I'm looking at what you're doing. I'm going to look at the camera again. So yeah, did I think it was possible? So 2 years ago, I had 1,000 followers. Literally, like my first post ever on LinkedIn was October 20 something of 2022. And I had accumulated like 1,000 followers from just being whatever. And then after 1 year, I had 20,000. Then in 1 week in September of 2023, I pivoted my content from talking to Shopify store owners, which was my old business, to talking to B2B SaaS people, which is my new business, which I didn't even know that I was going to start it until the content worked so well. In 1 week, my followers doubled from 20 to 40,000. At that time, Sam Jacobs was the North Star for me. He was at 70. And I was like, that's the goal, you know, where Sam's at. I didn't know if he was growing or not or whatever. I really, and I knew Chris Walker had like 120 at the time. But yeah, the 100,000, I crossed it like maybe like a month ago, but it wasn't really the goal. The goal is just to keep putting out what I view as like world-class differentiated shit, like the best stuff.
Okay, well, let's break that down for a moment. Right? It's significant because there's a lot of people that are on 1,000 don't believe they can get to 10,000, right? Like you've accelerated into that top percentile of 100,000 followers, and you talk about world-class content. You've been very clear with your ICP, sales, founders, growth marketeers. You have a very clear traction. I think, you know, without being too crude, I think you look the part, you sound the part, you have a track record, right? You haven't come on here as a 20-year-old college dropout that is just writing viral content.
Yeah.
So I think you bring a lot to the table, but what is it about how your infrastructure or your strategy or your team that's allowing you to consistently put out this content to deliver these type of results?
So what I will say is that I think that content market fit is equally as hard as product market fit.
Okay.
So I have friends every once in a while that come to me. They're like, I have this AI tool for reporting for enterprise. I want to talk to you about this LinkedIn thing and go to market. It's like, well, who are you writing for? It's like, well, we don't know yet. It's like, okay, it's going to be really hard to find your angle if you don't know who you're writing to, you know? So like I had Dave Gerhardt, the author of Founder Brand on my show on Tuesday. And I've always thought that I could not have been as successful creating content for e-commerce stores as I am for B2B SaaS, because there's this magic of me being my ideal customer profile, living on LinkedIn. He's like, nonsense. You didn't give it enough time to find your angle for those guys. Just it, right? Like, he's like, my CEO of Privy, Ben Jobway, he was a SaaS guy too. We had a very tactical show called E-commerce School, where he shared all of his learnings from dealing with these guys from 10 years about conversion and about whatever else. It was a huge advantage. He was not one of them. It worked great, right? So It is when you do not know who you're writing for, if you have any other goal other than to just make number go up, which you can do, right? But that's going to give you this untargeted audience that will not generate any leads for you. It's just going to number go up. It's going to be very hard, right? Like similar to building a product when you don't know who you're building for. It's really hard to make a good product if you don't know exactly who the user is, how they spend their days, what their pain is that you're solving, like all this stuff, right? So yeah, I think that knowing all of that gives me a hugely edge. And then I think look, I think my perspective is valuable because I bootstrapped, farther than almost anyone. And, but that's not that's just my angle, right? Because it's who I am. Everybody's got an angle. They just haven't uncovered it yet, right? Like another angle that I have is that since I'm a bootstrapper and I don't have investors, I can be incredibly brutally honest about the assessment of my journey, which literally no one else can, right? On LinkedIn especially, there's a million reasons why CEOs can't talk about the shitty stuff of their business. Their investors can't do another round. Their employees are going to get upset about it, like all this stuff, right? But like, even on Instagram, people are creating this idealized version of their life. So it's just so difficult for anyone to actually be authentic that if you become incredibly skilled at being authentic, your content has a very high probability of breaking through if it is relevant to the people that you're talking to, right? So that's my shtick. It's my perspective, and it's the fact that I'm super authentic in a way that literally no other SaaS CEO can even be on LinkedIn. Like that's why it's working, right?
Okay, so and just to dig into that a bit more, you've been very vocal about your competitors or the incumbents in the market. You even list them here on the beginning of your profile. And I've seen some cease and desist letters. I've seen some really awkward conversations. Like, how do you go about that, David and Goliath? How is that tactic working for you? How's it played to your favor, or where has it caught you off guard as well?
Yeah, like there was a big fiasco with 6 Sense where I like kind of got them to send me a cease and desist and then posted it on LinkedIn. And then, it was just the most epic piece of content ever. And it's probably like one of the most positive things that's ever happened in my career. Social media, but like, by the way, the reason that worked is because everyone hates 6 Sense. The only people that don't hate 6 Sense are people who just bought 6 Sense. But then like 6 months after, and everyone who's ever used 6 Sense in the past, they all hate it. If it was Klaviyo, I could have never done that. People love Klaviyo. If it was Notion, like you could have never done that to Notion. But like you say fuck 6 Sense, and then 400 people on LinkedIn are like, yeah, fuck 6 Sense. So like, not only does social media love conflict, when you tap into this thing, which I didn't even know was there, right? Like I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to take like a punch up at the industry leader. And then like, lo and behold, like 97% of the people that commented, and there were hundreds, were like, fuck that snake oil, bullshit company, whatever. Right. Like, so yeah, look, I think if you get an opportunity to punch up, do it. It can't be your whole brand. People get sick of you beating a dead horse, which I did with the 6 Sense thing. There was like clearly an end to the saga when I like made a post that went too far. And yeah, I think it's like people are not tuned into me for that, right? They're tuned into me for the value that my content delivers, which is like it's so incredible for me now because the story that I'm telling is so deeply intertwined with marketing the product itself, Do
you? I hear you. Do you feel different in the sense, like when we were backstage before we had this conversation, like you said, you feel like you've reached a place in your career or business that you dreamed of. And I'm not saying it's related to just LinkedIn and some of these data points, but I know, being a follower, I guess a fan, and becoming a contact of yours, that when you walk into a room now, it's like, oh, that's Adam Robinson. Have you heard this? You heard that? Have you felt that groundswell of acknowledgement and recognition And is that helpful for business or life or personal?
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, except for SaaS events. If there's like a lot of early stage founders in a place, I think it's factual that like I am trying harder to aggregate an audience through thought leadership than anybody else who speaks to them, right? Like, in my position in that ecosystem it's probably at the top of early stage founders. But like, I was at the zoo on Sunday with my dad and my daughter, and some guy walks up and was like, my dad doesn't have a clue about all this stuff, right? Like, he doesn't know what I'm doing. He doesn't know I'm like spending my life creating content for LinkedIn or whatever. And the guy's like, oh man, I'm such a fan. I did like a breakdown on the whole 6th Sense saga. I was the guy that did that. Like, all your stuff's so great. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. I like didn't even explain it to my dad, but yeah, that stuff happens every once in a while. And like, I didn't think that I wanted to be famous before I started doing this. In fact, it was like detracting my desire to do it. But what I will say is, like, not only you're not actually famous. It's like a very localized fame, which is great, right? Like, it is nice to like walk into a room and have 10 people say they love your stuff, right? Because you put yourself into it. And it's great when people like it. And then it does help literally every single part of your business. Like, what's an example of this? It's like Nathan invites me to speak on his webinars and at his events. Other SaaS people have to pay $10,000 to get on that webinar, right? Like, I get asked, people show up and say, I want to work for you every single day, right? Every day. Like, I want help with YouTube. I make a post about it. Like, I get 15 super qualified people who are like fighting to work with me, right? Like, I post about my churn. I get 393 people that canceled their account that tell me very detailed feedback of why, right? Like, there's this incredible power to this affinity that you can build.
I like that. I'm going to come back to that, Adam. I just want to draw our attention back to your profile for a second. It's the summary here is very wordy. Have you tried to do any like bold or italics with this area?
I haven't given that area a lot of thought, actually. I wrote that before I started RB2B, and I haven't really looked back at it. Do you think that is your opinion that I should like add some more pop to it?
Yeah.
It doesn't hit nearly as hard as the banner does, right? Like,
no, like, so there's this tool here, text format I'm showing you, Lex. So you can then bold it, you can do things to just highlight and play with it a little bit more. I just think as good as a copywriter you are, this does not really do much for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of it is a bio, right? And I have something similar because I do speaking gigs, and I use it so I don't have to bother telling people my bio. I think this pops, but you could have clearer call to actions.
Yeah.
You've got, this is all of it. Your top of the fold is so strong, and it's got me so excited. And I come here and I'm like, okay, I'm still excited. And now I'm like, oh, okay, he sounds amazing, but I don't know what. Oh, okay, he does a lot of things. Oh, he works at Lehman's. What's this $1 billion challenge? I don't know. I think this is the area that could definitely do with some work.
Okay, I will put it on my list. I'm putting it on my list right now. Because I think you're right. I think you're right, man. It's like little stuff like this can really make an impact.
I like what you've done with the feature section. You're using this in a smart way. Is the inbound led outbound? It says live. Is it live or is it pre-recorded?
It's live every week.
And how is that working for you? Is it on what system do you use? Do you drop?
Yeah. So like, I don't push it live to LinkedIn because I don't like the posts that it creates in my feed.
Yeah.
and I haven't seen, it's like another 30 people, which is good. It's like I get like, 100 to 200 people live. So that's a meaningful percentage, right? 15 to 30%. But like, I don't know, it like really clutters up your feed because it makes 2 posts and it doesn't give them good distribution. So they're all super low likes. And like, if you scroll through my posts, it's like, holy shit, this guy gets like every single thing he puts out gets 300, 400, 500 likes. Like, what is he talking about? Right. Like, and then you drop those LinkedIn Live posts in, which I don't know a way around. And it's like, oh, like, here's 2 that have 6 likes, because I think it makes 1 when you create it and 1 when you do it or something like that. So I just do it on Zoom because everybody's got Zoom. And then we drop it on YouTube the next day, and my YouTube is not optimized yet. So, I get like a few, I'm still in the stage with YouTube where I'm not doing YouTube correctly, and I still only get like a couple hundred views per video, That's 2025 goal for me. Like, really.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, look, I feel like again, why I set up this, and I've got David Gerhardt, I've got Sam Jacobs coming on, I've got all the people we know coming on. I felt like I just lost my way with LinkedIn, and I was saying to a friend who's a bootstrapped entrepreneur, I was like, look, I need to do SEO, I need to do email, I need to do cold email. He's like, man, you haven't even cracked LinkedIn, bro. Like, get back to dominating a channel that knows you, generates leads, and then start thinking about the other channels. But then the other part of me feels like, historically now, and it is easy to do, I think you can rise up with YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, all at the same time with distribution. Can you not? Or is that too much?
I think this is just my approach with anything. It's like, nail one, really nail it. And then if you can understand why that's working for you once it's nailed, it will allow you to be successful much quicker on another platform. Because like, I'm going to have to do YouTube really different than LinkedIn. Like, the guy like Chris Walker just puts his stuff on YouTube. He's not doing YouTube like a YouTube guy, right? He's doing LinkedIn like a LinkedIn guy, but he's just putting LinkedIn content on YouTube. That's not going to do it, So I think that it's really easy to spread yourself too thin, basically. I think it's really easy to get ahead of yourself. It's like the time to start widening the aperture is when you're like, I'm getting as much as possible out of like the point of most leverage. That's what I think about with growth channels, and I'm probably overly conservative. I'm a bootstrapper. I'm like, I got to get as much as possible out of every dollar and every minute I deploy to anything. So I stay unreasonably focused for too long, probably. But that's just who I am, man.
Tell us about this post here that looks like it went pretty viral. What's going on here? What's it about? Why do you think it was successful?
Yeah, so this is I made a docuseries and last year, and it was called $1 Billion Challenge, and it was episodic. There were 2 seasons of 10 episodes, and it was about how I thought I was going to create a unicorn in the beginning. I called my shot, and then it was about how that just didn't happen, and it crashed and burned. And like, we came out, and it's still shoot for the moon, hit the stars was kind of the answer, the verdict. And my audience is on LinkedIn. And the problem with LinkedIn with content like that is it's not a sequential platform. Like, they'll serve you something from 6 months ago, and they'll serve my brother something from yesterday, right? So, but meanwhile, I drop these episodes, and people will be like, this is just the best, highest quality, best storytelling of any business content I've ever seen. I don't want to brag because it's about me, but like, this girl, Christy Ellington, who made this docuseries for me and I continue to work with, is amazing. And what I allow her to say about through this storytelling, I gave her complete creative control. I have zero input in any of it. I just do 1 interview a week. Then my boy John, who's my video guy, he follows me when we travel. If they need like some filler stuff, we go shoot it in Austin. 18 episodes, unbelievably done. If you give even a remote shit about SaaS, it's like riveting content. And people are telling me this. And then I go look at other attempts to do things like it. And it's like this 6 Sense plus LinkedIn bullshit about, they hire it's like so fucking bad, And I'm like, this is really expensive, but it's a superpower because I can tell from what people are saying in the comments, even though it's not getting reach, it's creating a different type of affinity than my talking head videos are. So, she went, we basically decided to like try to make a series of standalone high quality content like the post you're talking about. And we have tons of B-roll. So like almost any story, if she gets an hour interview with me, she can splice my talking head in my office with anything else because there's a terabyte of B-roll from following me around for 18 months, right? So what this video was in one of the episodes of $1 Billion Challenge, I'm talking about how I like I wrote a bunch in journals when I was like 38. And I made this goal when I was at 230K MRR with one company, right? I'm like, I want to hit 2 million ARR by my 42nd birthday. No, it's 37. I want to hit 2 million MRR by my 42nd birthday. No idea how I was going to do it, but that was my goal, right? Moonshot goal or whatever. So it took till, I don't know, 3 months ago when I was 43 to do it, but I did it. So crossed 2 million MRR bootstrapped, right? Like that's insane, right? Like I'm making more money than I ever thought I ever fucking would. Like this is amazing. So this post is kind of like one of these like humble brag, congratulatory, but it's the story of how, and there's footage of me reading the journal, right? From when I was 37. I actually thought I was going to hit the goal in 2023. I didn't. It took another year because everything blew up in my face in 2023. We finally hit it. And she did this recut of the story of that. And that's what this post is.
I think you're right. While it has that humble brag, it's the production quality of the videos is world class.
Yeah. But by the way, it doesn't need to be. That is not by any means a necessity. I would not actually encourage people to make video like that because the video that gets the most reach by far, okay, the feed is a different conversation. I don't like the feed yet because LinkedIn has not directed that video at your audience. LinkedIn directs that video like TikTok directs video, super untargeted. So like, I think that like kind of goes against what the magic of LinkedIn is, which is going viral in a very tight ICP. But watch Chris Walker. That's what you should be doing. It's very easy and inexpensive to produce. That's what LinkedIn wants. It wants a talking head. The production value, sync it into a backdrop, right? Like this costs $1,000. It looks good. I have these 2 lights. I have a decent camera and like, I have a dope like background setup, right? Like that's all LinkedIn wants. Chris pays $175 a month for a membership to a recording studio. He gets everybody to chunk his guest slot appearances with his weekly event, records them right in a row. They send Hatch, his agency, all the raws, and then he gets shorts that he then makes posts out of. And he says the same thing over and over again. So like, I would not make this type of video. I just do talking heads. If you want to do video, which again, if you do video in general, it will stop. It will impede the distribution of your text post. But it's a much deeper, in my opinion, it's a much deeper human-to-human connection than, see, these talking heads are like, that's the video that is very inexpensive to make. And what it is doing, trust. It gets much more, it gets much more. It's so that when I meet you at Nathan Lotka's event, you feel like you're my friend already. Cause like, you know how I speak, you've heard my voice, you've seen my gestures, you know my facial expressions. Like, that is magic, and the high look, if I didn't have a business that was like making like millions and millions of dollars, like I would not be spending $6,000 an episode on these 5-minute standalone things, right? Like it's just fuck you money at this point. And it's like something that I want to do because like, I think that it's like a different kind of connection, but you literally cannot put a value on it. So it's like, if you're deciding what to spend money on, I would say absolutely not that. but like I'm doing it because I have this machine that's sort of working, you know? And by the way, I get shit for it all the time from our finance people. Like, I'm just like, let me keep doing it. You know?
Well, I just want to explore some other areas. So we get we agree that video is working for you. You're investing in it. It's delivering. This is talking about the challenge. Is this now redundant? It's like it's not being updated. It was kind of a campaign series, or are you going to go again?
So look, a shortcoming of LinkedIn is there's no place to park video. So we wanted to park it in the newsletter.
Got it.
That's really all that is. And it's a bad place for it because I think they've deprecated this feature. I don't think a LinkedIn newsletter actually sends people emails when you publish it.
It does.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
Yeah. I feel that this is a missed trick right now because you can't get the email addresses. Yes, you can get the email addresses out of LinkedIn. There's all sorts of ways to do that. But obviously you're using your own infrastructure. Whereas if you're using LinkedIn's infrastructure branded by LinkedIn, when you publish a new newsletter, if they haven't got the notification setting off, it is landing in the inbox. You've just got it turned off.
Does it go to their LinkedIn inbox or does it go to their email inbox?
The email inbox.
Yeah. Fuck, I didn't see a single one ever.
It's worth looking into it. I think there's something there.
Yeah. And there's this other thing of like, do I want to be promoting their newsletter or my newsletter?
Well,
you know, that's a different conversation altogether.
I get it.
You know?
All right. So okay. We're coming up on time. Let's what have we not covered or what are you thinking about doing more of into 2024, 2025 that people can listen to, learn from, hear from the Adam Robinson LinkedIn guru / creator / bootstrapper?
Yeah. So like, I think that the way that I look at this is unique. I view what I do and I spend a lot of time and energy. Like I consider this the same motion as posting on LinkedIn because it's doing something very similar, right? I'm just hoping that your audience, some people in it don't know me yet or don't know me well. And like, that's what this is doing. It's like, they're sitting there, they're listening to me and they'll be like, oh, that guy's cool. I'm going to just go look. I hadn't looked at RB2B yet, whatever. So I think that I'm actually in the edutainment business and I happen to have a SaaS at the bottom of the funnel. And I'm just trying to be a better edutainer. And what do I mean by that? Right? So like an obvious shortcoming of my content, in my opinion, is I'm not actually following a correct narrative arc in my posts for a lot of the posts. I achieve agitation and relief in sort of a hero's journey trajectory through lists and takeaways. But like, there's a lot of narrative tactics that if I used, I think it would cause the post to spread even faster because, man, it's crazy. I've just started doing more public speaking lately because like people are inviting me to these events and like I'm giving a presentation and I can tell when I start telling a story, it's like, okay, so I was at this trade show. I was sitting in, I was in Austin, Texas. It was 2017. It's like people all of a sudden put their phones down and all of their eyes go straight through your forehead, right? Like we cannot resist story. So like my dream is to up the frequency and up the quality of the actual storytelling in the posts, but not sort of compromise any of the stuff that I think is working, like the authenticity and like the narrative and stuff like that. Okay, I want to add characters to it, right? Like Santos is a character, Pete's a character, Rob's a character. So like widening the attack area by doing that.
What about where are you looking outside of LinkedIn ecosystem for inspiration? Where are you seeing creators on other platforms, especially in the edutainment space?
I mean, I listened to this book while I was running. I'm actually going to this book rather than like looking at other creators. I'm going to actually try to follow a storytelling framework in my posts rather than like, I was like following, it's really easy for me to write the list template. It's like, here's my 5 steps to like whatever, or here's my 5 reasons why. And it's just a sentence and an explanation. Right. But like, I think that if I can train the, yeah, that's the answer. Like I'm not watching anybody else, but I just have this deep conviction that if my storytelling gets a lot better, these posts will get forwarded to people in a much wider breadth than they currently do.
Okay. All right. Well, look, this has been fascinating watch. Thank you, Adam, for being on the show. This is the LinkedIn Teardown, where we are going to tear down and continue to tear down the LinkedIn profiles of the world's best entrepreneurs, LinkedIn creators, and bring you more golden content so you can smash out your growth goals and engagement goals in 2025. Thanks for listening. Adam, just hold a moment and we'll wrap this up.
Boom.